Dragapult EX is shaping up to be the new best deck from Twilight Masquerade. But what Pokemon should you pair it with, and what A-Spec should you play? That's what I'm here to find out. But first, let's go over what Dragapult does. It's a 320 HP Terra Dragon type, meaning it takes no damage on the bench, and has no weakness, so it can survive a lot of things. For one color, it does 70 damage, and for Fire and a Psychic, Phantom Dive does 200 and put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon I knew you like. This is really useful to just knock out evolving things on the bench, or even some bigger things if you get multiple hits. It evolves from Dragapult, which has the ability where once per turn you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and one on the bottom of your deck. So it has a built-in draw engine, which makes it interesting of whether or not you even need to play a draw engine in your Dragapult deck. This is the Champions League Sapporo, a huge Japanese tournament that Dragapult placed multiple times at. The highest placing one was a Xatu variant. Xatu says once per turn you may attach a basic psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, then draw 2 cards. So since Dragapult has a psychic energy in its cost, you can power that up and then attach a fire and be fully powered up in one turn, which is really useful. And it additionally draws cards, because while Dragapult does get you 1 card after looking at 2, Xatu gets you more cards since Dragapult really isn't that many cards overall, and you're often evolving up your Dragapult as well. The tough thing about this variant is it makes your mirror match tougher because Xatu can really easily be knocked out by opposing Dragapult. This list plays Unfair Stamp as the A-Spec, which says if a Pokemon was knocked out last turn, then you shuffle your hand to your deck and draw 5, your opponent shuffles in and draws 2. It's a really good disruption A-Spec that is good in almost any deck, and a lot of Dragapults are playing it, so that's what this one opts for. This one also plays Radiant as Radiant Alakazam to move 2 damage counters from a Pokemon to another Pokemon, which is just really useful to knock out things with more than 60 HP that Dragapult can't easily knock out immediately. So Xatu may seem like the best variant, but then there's another one that did well, which is the Lost variant. This one simply plays Lost Box, considering Mirage Gate gets the 2 energy you need to fully power up your Dragapult. And additionally, Sableye places damage counters, which very much synergizes your Dragapult. Because you play 6 as Dragapult, then 12 as Sableye, that's like 18 damage counters in 2 turns. But Dragapult you can obviously get up faster than Sableye, and Dragapult damages the active too. So you can take a bunch of knockouts at once with the damage counters from both the Dragapult and Sableye in your deck. And additionally, gives you an early game attack with Cramorant, because one problem with Dragapult is it can't attack turn 1. And Comfey is a nice built-in draw engine. This one also plays Radiant Charizard as its Radiant, which makes a lot of sense considering Mirage Gate allows you to power this up and do even more damage than Dragapult can do. This makes some tougher matchups of things with higher HP Dragapult can't knock out much easier to beat just because you can knock him out with the Radiant Charizard. As the A-Spec of choice, this one plays Prime Catcher, just for switching options, which is really important in Lost Box when you need to switch between Comfeys and use their abilities. But overall, there might be a better A-Spec. Unfair Stamp could be useful, or there's going to be some other ones I'm going to mention later as I show you even more Dragapult lists. This one's another Xatu one. This one plays Tatsugiri, which, if it's active, you might look at the top 6 cards of your deck and grab the supporter card there. And then you attach Rescue Board to it, which gives you Fruit or Treat. This essentially means that whenever someone knock out, bring up Tatsugiri, use the ability to give supporter, and then attach a Xatu. Xatu can only attach to bench Pokemon, so having Tatsugiri in the active really helps. This one also plays Radiant Alakazam as the Radiant, but it plays Prime Catcher as the A-Spec just because it likes switching, which is good. Because you do like 200 to the active and 60 to the bench. Sometimes they're putting something on the bench in range of a knockout. For instance, there's a Blood Moon or Shrill on the bench, 260 HP, put 6 on the bench. You gust it, knock out the thing you just damaged, and knock out something on the bench. It's very easy to take double knockouts when you can gust around and put the 6 damage counters somewhere on the bench instead of having to do the damage to the active with the 200 to the active. And those are all the different Dragapults that did well at this tournament. However, there are City Leagues, which are tournaments in Japan. The season did end recently. However, there's a lot of Dragapults doing well in these. First other variant is Pidgeot. So the Pidgeot variant focuses on using just Pidgeot as a draw engine, because you can search for any card once per turn. That's really powerful. Now the problem is Dragapult does not have a built-in energy acceleration engine, which requires you to play Neo Upper Energy as your A-Spec. Just give you 2 Rainbow on stage 2, So sadly you can't use the utility aspect, but having Pidgeot is just so nice to search any card. And you can easily power up the Dragapult in one turn by searching it out with Pidgeot. You also have Mila, which if a Pokemon is knocked out last turn, touch a fire from your discard to one of your Pokemon, then draw till you have 6. This additionally is helpful because it allows you to power up the Dragapult if your Neo Upper Energy is prized, or after your current one gets knocked out, since you really have no acceleration with something like Xatu. This one also happens to play no Radiant. It's actually surprising how many opt to play no Radiant Pokemon. While it is useful to have a Radiant Pokemon, it's not always necessary. Here's another list. Prime Catcher. Seems like Prime Catcher is very popular still. Even if Unfair Stamp Disruption might be nice. This one plays Unfair Stamp. Lots of Unfair Stamp for Prime Catchers. Now another variant that is kind of interesting, kind of the last of the 4 different variants, is the Charizard variant. Because Charizard EX gets 3 energy in play, which helps you power up a Dragapult early. But additionally, it has a really strong attack for late game knockouts, which is really helpful in the mirror match. Additionally, you've also a Charmeleon that takes no effects of attacks, which means if you try to start evolving your Charizard manually, that works really well against other Dragapults, because this guy can't be affected by Dragapult's damage counters. And then late game, after your opponent's taken 5 prizes, you're doing 330 with the Charizard. Bibarel is in this list, although most lists I've seen with the Charizard do not play Bibarel. This one also plays Comfey and a Cramorant, which is kind of interesting. It plays Chorus as a draw engine. This is a really unusual Charizard list, but it's kind of got a little bit of a loss engine built in. And the Radiant choice, which some play, is Radiant Serena, because healing is really useful in the mirror match. And the ace-spec choice is Prime Catcher. Let's find another Charizard list, though, because that one's kind of odd. Kind of a mix of lost and Charizard. This one's more expected. It's got Radiant Alakazam as the Radiant. Got a little bit of a thinner Charizard line, but none of the lost stuff. It does have Tatsugiri to get cards set up. And it's got the ace-spec that personally I think is best in the Charizard variant, which is Scoop Up Cyclone, which literally just puts a Pokemon, all cards attached to it, into your hand. Because Dragapult is 320 HP and can easily survive attacks, they hit you and you just immediately pick it up. And that's really powerful. But which variant really is the best? Personally, I think the Charizard variant is the best. Because the mirror match, for one thing, is the most important thing. Because Dragapult's the most popular deck, you want to be able to beat other Dragapults. Charizard one-hitting other Dragapults is huge. And while the Pidgeot variant may seem like it has a better mirror match, because of the fact you can search out any card, Dragapult plays Devo, and can Devo and knock out your Pidgey, along with an Iono or an Unfair Stamp, and completely lock you out of the game, making it so the Pidgeot version is kind of susceptible. Also, the Pidgeot version can be somewhat slow, so can the Charizard version. But the Charizard version has comeback potential in Charizard. The Pidgeot version is not as much of a comeback deck because it does not have an attacker like Charizard, so it falls behind. The Xatu version is the one that has been performing the most, though, just because it's a straightforward, consistent version that draws a lot of cards. However, personally, other than the Lost version I think is the worst, sadly, because there's better options for Lost boxes. But other than the Lost version, I think the Xatu version is the worst version. Just because, while you can get a lot of energy in play and draw cards, you're not finding what you need, and your attack is just simply Dragapult. So anything that can survive your Dragapult or plays ways to pick their Pokemon up can be really tough. For instance, you're fighting against Blissey EX, which is already a tough matchup for Dragapult. With the Xatu version, there's not much you're doing. With the Pidgeot version, you can at least search out gusting cards to go around the Blissey. And with the Charizard version, you can at least one-hit them with Charizard, one-hit the Blissey. But with the Xatu version, you can't. And Blissey is the main deck to counter Dragapult. And it's going to be pretty popular. It might not be super popular, but there are some other decks. Like Charizard. Charizard plays Turo. And maybe Mist Energy or Hero's Cape. So they have a lot of ways to pick up stuff. So if you can have another Charizard EX KO their Charizard in return, that's really powerful. But just attacking with Dragapult all game is not ideal sometimes, even if you do have Radiant Alakazam to move some damage counters around. What do you think the best variant is? Comment below, and watch the video on screen. It's my review of the entire Twilight Masquerade set, which I think is the best set in years. See ya.